All right. Woo doggus. It be 11:55 here in central New York. So forgive any glasses glare, but yeah. Yeah. That's where we're at. So hello. Welcome back to Fuller Consciousness. My name is Michelle Fuller. I am a spiritual teacher and life coach. Um, I am going to actually invite you to check out a couple links in the description box here. One is going to lead you to a free version of the Myers-Briggs personality test, and the other one's going to lead you to the free version of the Big Five personality test. Um, Depending on how you score, this video may or may not truly be for you. Okay, so if you score high in agreeableness and openness on the Big Five personality tests, or test rather, and if you score high in hyphen T on the Myers Briggs, which is going to follow your four-letter designation, then this video is definitely for you. Okay. However, even if you don't, it can still be for you because what we're going to be talking about is different perspectives and strategies to bring into your way of being when you are dealing with people who are heavily Narci-traited. Okay, this is a Narci system. We all have Narci traits. We all have tendencies for Narci traits anyway, um, until we don't, until we identify stuff, heal stuff, just choose a different way, whatever. Um, so check out the description box, check out those two links. They're both free. They both should only take, honestly, you guys, maybe 5 minutes each. And if you want to do that first and then circle back around here, that's awesome. Otherwise, keep listening. So, again, for the Myers Briggs, what you're going to want to see is whether an A or a T follows the hyphen after the four-letter designation. Okay, or after your four-letter designation. It's not really your four-letter designation that matters for the context of this video. We're looking for the A or the T. So A is for assertive and T is for turbulent. Assertive sounds exactly like what you think it means. And turbulent refers to a tendency to feel a lot of really tough emotions on a regular basis. So, like negative emotions, not that there are any bad emotions, of course not, but the ones that are really tough to feel. And you may tend to feel them pretty regularly, maybe every day, um, and to be really sensitive to or affected by things that are external to you. So, like external to your inner world, to your own state of being. So, check and see if you're a T or an A. And then also look at the percentage of either the T or the A, because, for example, if you come out as 90% turbulent, that's something to really know about yourself, right? Like, not because there's anything in you to fix, you guys. You're perfectly imperfect. We all are. But because if you're walking through life with like really super thin skin, there are things you can do to start bolstering yourself so that you can access a life of more neutrality and just like generally like experience more peace. Okay. And you deserve that. You likely came in here as a highly sensitive soul and then life happened, like all the normalized trauma stuff and perhaps not so normalized trauma stuff. And so, of course, you're going to score high in turbulence. Okay. Give yourself a big hug. But shifting into a higher percentage of assertiveness is really going to benefit your experience here, um, your overall health, and the extent to which you're able to bring your authentic self, write your own story. Be the creator that you are. Unfurl your own script, play your own game as opposed to allowing others to project their game onto you. Um, it's going to help you successfully tune out distractions and focus on your own goals. Okay. So, as far as the big five personality test, you're going to focus on how high you are in agreeableness and openness. It's really beautiful to score high in these areas for obvious reasons. And you don't want to change a damn thing about yourself. Okay. But if you know you're high in agreeableness and openness, you can probably see how this may not lend well at times to staying on your own path inside your own narratives, inside your own goals, if you're not intentional about it. Okay. Now, I personally scored very high in agreeableness and openness, very high. And when I learned this about myself, it was very useful to me because I began to understand that, we're all different here. And so perhaps there are some perspective shifts that I can make, um, some intentional ways of being that I can practice that are not going to diminish my innate organic inclination to be open, agreeable, um, loving, compassionate, those types of things, but also will help to keep me centered inside of my own goals on my own path. Okay. So, by the way, when we do that work, a lot of times you're going to see your turbulence score go down and assertive go up. So, like myself, for example, the first time that I ever took the Myers Briggs, I was something like 70 something percent turbulent. And I actually just took it again a couple weeks ago and I was 67% assertive. Okay. So, this is stuff we can heal. The gorgeous sisters and brothers that I sit with, my clients, I see it happen all the time. The first thing they do is take that test. Not everyone, but a lot of them score high in turbulence. And then lo and behold, we retake the test at a later date. And suddenly they're an A instead of a T, and it's really cool. It's really exciting. It's not to put out this idea that you should change anything about who you are. No, this is about loving who we are and knowing that these traits are a signature of your soul, which is very purposed here. But also, it's about knowing where you end and others begin. And so, committing to securing a bubble around yourself that you can activate when it benefits, just to ensure that your agreeableness and openness doesn't result in giving others permission unknowingly. It's not like you're doing it, but because it's like who you be, this gorgeous way that you be, giving others permission to exploit you or try to control outcomes so that their own game is served, while your sovereign path is like completely just plowed over, abandoned by yourself, etc. Okay. Plowed over by them, abandoned by you. And you don't even know what the heck hit you. Okay. Until later when you're like, oh shit. Right. So, okay. So once you've taken those tests and checked out your results, you can start to consider some new ways of being to put into practice when dealing with particularly manipulative or character deficient people. Are these euphemisms? Perhaps. I'm really sick of the word narcissism and narcissist. I really am. So that's why I'm getting all fancy with my lingo here. But, otherwise known as those who are mid to high on the spectrum of narcissistic traits. So, like severely insecure, disconnected peeps carrying out scripts or programs that are purely in service to self. So, I emphasize putting into practice these new ways of being because the 6 strategies that we're going to go over here are something you will need to practice. It's like strengthening a muscle, you know. it's a path you walk. And so when you sincerely like agree to set out on that path, the universe is going to bring you the appropriate practice spaces. Well, look, either way, the universe is going to bring you the appropriate practice spaces, and you get to choose if you're going to stay conscious inside them and use them to your benefit, or fall into a space of victim archetype or something like that. So, when you're strengthening that muscle, when you're navigating these practice spaces that will come in, for your benefit. Just be super patient with yourself, celebrate your successes when you have them, and try again with self compassion if you do feel like you abandoned yourself inside of some situation, whatever it may be. It could be something really small, it could be a simple conversation with someone who is typically very difficult to communicate with, or it could be like a really big situation where someone brings a lot of destructive energy into your life and you feel blindsided by it. So it's a journey. This is your game. You're choosing new, more beneficial ways to be that are completely different than any of the archetypal characters you may have been assigned in the past inside family systems or belief systems or matrix constructs or whatever. So have fun exploring yourself, have fun getting to know who you are as you embody the more empowered parts of yourself that they've always been there. It's just they need your permission to come front and center. Okay, so that's your game. That's your game. You're leveling up. You're the hero in your journey. And if this idea scares you, because I absolutely have witnessed this idea, produce some levels of discomfort in people, um, y- you know, why? Ask yourself why. Are you waiting for someone else to save you? Are you afraid of fallout or what other people will think of you if you become that empowered? um Other people being upset with you, that kind of thing, what kind of boats you're going to rock, what kind of foundations you're going to shake up, what kind of covert rules you're going to rattle, right? If you do feel those things, please contact me so that we can do some deep dives together, sit together, or take it upon yourself to do some research, about how to navigate and shift all that, because the info is out there. It's all over the internets. It's all over the internets. It's all over them. Just go and research. Like, seriously, there is no shortage of information on this stuff. So, without further ado, did you like that? Yeah, I'm getting a little loopy. It's late. I'm always loopy. Who am I kidding? The first thing to focus on when dealing with manipulative or high narci-traded people is to communicate from your objective, yours. Communicate from your objective. Now, if you're super high in agreeableness and openness, you might not even like typically have objectives, because you're kind of, you're flowing through life, all's good. They can be who they are. You are who you are. You don't have any, high maintenance expectations of anyone. You just want to connect and love and, yeah, smell the flowers together. But guess what? Not everybody's like you. So you have to communicate from your objective. Okay. If you don't know what your objective is, um, figure it out. Like, start to bring that practice into your daily life. Like, what's my objective today? Oh, I'm getting together with so and so. What's my objective? Oh, I'm going to this thing. What's my objective? Like, figure out what your goals are for what you're doing, where you're paying attention, right? Figure it out. It's really important. It's really important. And contrarily, stop feeling into what they need or require, someone that is high in Narci traits. Stop feeling into how they might be feeling, Stop being more considerate of them than you are for yourself. Stop reading their anxiety riddled exterior as anything that's even necessarily real in the case of the more covert types, because you just don't know, you guys. You just really don't know. Like, covert types are actually full of superiority and extreme arrogance too, just like the overt types, but it's behind the mask. So they'll often present themselves as being really mild and meek, and even in some cases self-deprecating. Okay. Now, obviously, you don't know what you're dealing with, right? So, or who you're dealing with, right? When you're getting to know someone, so just assume from the beginning. Just assume from the beginning, and then wait. Take your time. Go slow. Look for patterns in action. Okay, that give you an indication of who and what you're dealing with. Check in with your feels, check in with your intuition, check in with your gut, all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. I'm very Flemish. I'm from Belgium and I have a lot of phlegm. Okay, so um regardless of like what's true or not anyway about them, okay, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't even matter who they are. Doesn't matter. So just stop abandoning your own feelings, your own needs, your own perspectives, and being more considerate of the other person than you are of you guys. Because if you are high in openness and agreeableness and turbulence, or just some of the three, a couple of the three, one of the three, you know, this is going to be a thing for you. Okay. So you have a divine right to being communicated with, treated as the valuable and innately worthy being that you are, right? Like, you do know this. So you get to communicate from your objective, your objective. If you're surrounded by others that are like in your collective, your others who are high in agreeableness and openness as well, highly empathic, highly sensitive souls, it's not going to be an issue. Okay. But a lot of people can fake it too. There are so many covert narci-traited people that run around proclaiming they're, I'm an empath and all these different identifications. Okay. So just think about you. Okay. Come into relationship, come into conversations, come into activities from you, your objective. And again, if you don't know what your objective is, sit down, make a list, figure it out. Okay, before you move into the space, whatever the space is. And if you do this often enough, you won't need to sit down and make a list anymore. It shouldn't even take that long. If you did that, 10 times, you'd have it in your mind. It would become part of who you are. It would become something that you would bring into your consideration as you move through the world. Okay. All right. So the next one is stop being afraid of yourself. So, often when we are in connection or relationship with someone, let's let's say it's someone that like we know, we sense, we can tell enough, just because we've had enough conversations. Sometimes just one conversation can let us know, right? um we know that the other person is coming from a different level of awareness, different level of consciousness. Sometimes we can tell, right from the get-go, someone maybe hasn't done the work to connect to themselves, as we continue to do with so much compassion for others that, you know, we assume everyone is like sincerely doing the same thing, right? And so when we make those types of assumptions, like from that openness, from that agreeableness, and when we perceive, okay, I can tell that we're like not sort of in the same space here, but I'm sure they're doing the work. you know what can happen is we can really slowly backslide to meet them where they're at. Really, especially those of us who are on this path, like on the path of integrity, on the path of our own creatorship here, who have not moved into that self empowered boundary fire space along with all the love that we have. Okay. Healing codependence, healing people pleasing tendencies, things like that. If we haven't done a lot of that work yet. So maybe we didn't even know we had it to do. Right. Or maybe we've been doing it a while and we're still working on it because it's such a path. Right. So we may know very well what it means to abandon ourselves. And we may know we have a responsibility to ourselves not to do that anymore to ourselves. Right. But over time, if you're a highly sensitive person, if you're very empathic, if you score very high in agreeableness or openness, or, high in the hyphen T for turbulence on the Myers Briggs, you will by default, just because it's a really slippery slope, end up in a situation again where you realize that, oh crap, I was smalling myself again. I was squeezing myself back down into a tiny black dot to make the person I was with, that is at a different state of consciousness than me, that does not have the level of awareness that I have, that has not experienced the expansiveness that I have experienced here. Okay, enough. All that, like, you know, I I shrunk myself back down so that they could be comfortable, basically. And sometimes you won't even realize that you were doing that until they make a move that brings like destruction, to you, shows you the truth of the situation. So it can be something like kind of dramatic. Um, but it's purpose to show you the truth because you were ignoring it before, because you weren't listening to yourself, because you were afraid of yourself and what you know to be true. Your magic here, your ability to know what's true, right? Um, so sometimes things have got to come in a big way, you know, and it's a gift because you use it to veer back onto your own path, right? Inside your own ways of being, inside your own soul objectives here. So other times, like, all along, you might kind of notice things, but maybe gaslight yourself or let things go, second guess your gut, all of that. Okay. So you've got to ask yourself why. Like, why did you do that? You know, were you afraid of them? The other person, the other party? I doubt it. I suspect not. I suspect it's truly a case of being afraid of yourself on some level, not trusting that you can be you in this world. Um, so looking into what are the fears there? What are the core beliefs there? What are the implants there? What are the programs there that are working in the basement of your subconscious mind? Where did you learn that you could be a receptacle or a dumping ground for someone else's unconscious manifestations, and like that's okay? Where did you learn that? Like, it's your job to be the mirror that catches someone else's unconscious projections. Where did you learn that it's your job to enable someone else to be who they are inside of their limited belief systems compared to yours, inside of their 50-foot radius way of being compared to your expansiveness in the spaces you've already leveled up out of, inside of their awareness for who they are, or sorry, unawareness rather, for who they are, and where they are, what we're doing here, right? At the expense of your soul driven path. You know, you need to be you. You need to be you, especially when you're intuiting via actual situational evidence, those little things, those little red flags, that your bigness, your openness, your courage, your wisdom, your fire, your love, all of that stuff, all you've been through to get where you are is abrasive or scary to someone else. That fear is theirs. It was never yours. It was never yours unless you're afraid of yourself. Okay. So if you're to be as big as you are, as huge, immense, infinite as you are, as expanded as you are, do you really think, honestly, let's get real, that everyone you meet, or that you're going to meet many people that are going to relate to you on that level? We're all at different levels here. And so you need to be willing to be you all by yourself, all by yourself. I'm going to say that again. You need to be willing to be you all by yourself. Okay. So stop climbing back down the ladder into Plato's cave. Stop crouching down into a squatting position to meet someone else where they're at. Because how will you know if someone can come up and meet you unless you're you, the fullness of you, you know? So stop being afraid of yourself. Like, how are you going to know if you've aligned with someone from a shared collective? So be you, lead with love, but always be you. Where did you learn that being you was unloving or selfish if it didn't keep everyone else comfy cozy? Comfy cozy, right? Like, even when their destructive behaviors are intended to take you out, like, take your ass out, man. Some of these people, they don't give a shit, you know? They don't give a shit. They will take you out so that they can continue to exist inside of whatever fantasy world they require. Okay. So, again, check out my video on how to identify and change non beneficial core beliefs, the one that I posted yesterday, too. Um, in terms of this particular point. Okay. Because I think that that might be really helpful for you if you're sitting there thinking, am I afraid of myself? Okay. All right. Let me think about that a little bit, you know? So, okay. Next one. Understand that your morality, your kindness, your integrity, um, your big heartedness, your give the benefit of the doubtness is seen and will be used against you by a self-serving and heart disconnected person if you allow it. Okay. It will be exploited if you allow it. So, you know, all the love and lighters, they're going to come up in here, with their create their reality vibe. And that's cool because there's a lot of truth to that at some level on this expansion path, but that's not where we start out. And that's not who everyone is here. Okay. So we've got to learn to discern what's out there first. Some of us also are not here to throw love and light, new cage crap around because we are the light. We all are the light, but we are the light and we know we're here to shine our light on the darkness and the shadows, both within and without. Seriously, a lot of us are specifically foot soldiers doing that work. And we know because we can see the patterns inside of our whole lives. Okay, so sometimes we will actually draw out the shadows so that we can reflect them back in whatever way we're pushed to do so. And I say pushed because it's not always comfortable for those of us who really do want to just love and consciously communicate from integrity and, all that. But you've got to know that sincerity is wasted on the insincere. And maybe your interactions with them are for a higher purpose. Yeah. That is a whole other video. Okay. So just know that if you are a recovering codependent, people pleaser, excuse me, even if you are just simply very high in those traits that we discussed before, it's taken into account by highly narci-traited people and you are perceived as weak. Okay. They, I know this is hard to wrap your brain around, but they perceive their masks, their presentation as something very strong, and they pride themselves on it. Your sincere sharing, inside honesty, and vulnerability is perceived as weak, even though it's like the epitome of courage here. It's the fucking epitome of courage, but it's going to be perceived as weak. So your attempts to sincerely communicate are seen as weak, which means they think they're superior to you. Okay. They're arrogant. even if they wear a mask that indicates they're not. Okay. So just stop. Just stop thinking from a space of, you know, I'm going to communicate with love and compassion and openness. It's no, you have to access the wolf inside you. Okay. Play a little mental game and pretend you're like them as well as you're able. See what that would be like. It's probably going to be very accosting to you, but it's going to benefit you. Okay. This isn't about abandoning your integrity. This isn't about not leading with love. Okay. This is about leading with love for yourself first so you can stay on your own path and play your own game, which is why you be here. Okay. So I know it's really hard, but communicate with them from that space as little as possible. And if it is possible to just cut and cauterize, do that instead. But if you do choose to continue the connection for whatever reason, like maybe you have children together, that kind of whatever, there are several different reasons I could think of. Um, at the very least, cut off their flying monkeys. Okay. Just cut off their flying monkeys. And remember, you're a wolf. And imagine yourself as a wolf in your own mind when communicating with them. Perhaps a mama wolf. Okay. You're a mama wolf protecting you. All right. So, this is necessary because if you're communicating with them as the gorgeous, loving, empathic being that you are, from high openness, from high agreeableness, with a tendency for emotional turbulence, which they would love to feed off, because you're a sensitive soul, it's going to get exploited. Okay. So you're not leading from this other space to harm them. You're leading from this space to protect yourself. Healthy boundaries are your right. And, shifting mindsets like this is going to ensure that you stay on your own path, playing your own game, and writing your lines for yourself, your own lines for yourself. Okay. So, all right. So the next one, I think we're on 4. Honestly, I lost count. I think we're on 4. So I'm sure you've all heard this one before. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Right. Okay. Well, you certainly don't have to forgive them yet. That's going to come organically as you walk the healing, expanding, higher consciousness path. But that's not even anything that you have to worry about right now. Okay. What I want to focus on is the part about for they know not what they do. So, yes, it's true that depending on where they fall in the spectrum of narcissistic personality traits, much of their behaviors may be premeditated and conscious. Yeah, it's true. However, beyond that, you must remember that they are not operating from the same type of operating system that you are. Okay. They were unable to stay in the room with this thing called the human experience, this whole gamut of roller coaster emotions and situations, right? They were unable to, face their pain, face their shame, unable to face reality. And so they do not know what they do when we consider things from that perspective. They're not home. Okay. So stop thinking of them as someone like you, because when you do that, you personalize everything. They are not you. They are not walking through this world with a brain or a heart that operates similarly to the way yours operates. Okay. And the sooner you can accept this, the less energy you'll give them, and the more easily you'll be able to focus on yourself. And let me ask you a question. What if, in the whole scheme of things, that's the whole point of you having this interaction with them, or perhaps many interactions with many flavors of this type of person? Perhaps it's all happening to point you back to you, to remind you that you are a creator, that you are the author of your own story here, and that you get to choose who you are and what roles you'll play. Okay. No one has any power over you, and no one has the right to recruit you into their illusion and assign you a script. This is an exercise in sovereignty, you guys. You get to write your own. Okay. All right. Number 5. Super important. Consider if you have any illusions of your own, any blind spots that are functioning to align you with this fantasy world they attempt to recruit you into, right? Join me, support all of my illusions, be a prop in my reality. Like you're not even another human being to them there. Okay. So if you're not familiar with the story of Narcissus and Echo, please look it up. Okay. But, you know, related to that story, you may not be repeating their words back to them as Echo did with Narcissus, but are you subconsciously, unconsciously projecting your sincere, well meaning intentions onto them? Like what are you assuming about them based on who you are? So, integrity means leading from your own standards for yourself. Why assume anyone else has similar standards? No one else needs to either, right? That's not your game, that's their game. That's their path. That's a whole other freaking lane. It's a whole other freaking freeway. So if you need everyone else to be well intended like you, to reflect you back to you, um, you're not going to see the truth until it bites you, probably. And the bite can be very emotionally and psychologically destructive, physically as well. Even your physical health, if the bites keep adding up. And you can heal all that. You can heal all that, and you will heal all that once you access the illusion that you've been participating in. Okay. But if you start to keep a pin in the fact that no one else is looking back at you when you look in the mirror but you, just you can entertain more easily the idea that no one else is just like you. How beautiful is that, right? You're your own individuated, gorgeous soul. So when you can surrender to that, you're going to walk this path in a way that when abusive behavior comes in, you can handle it quickly and effectively. And you're probably going to feel some feels, and that's cool, but you're going to get back in your own game more quickly, more effectively, leveled up, more expanded than you were before the situation occurred. Okay. All right. So the last one, number 6, stop beating yourself up. There is no expert on this topic alive who hasn't been duped long after they thought they were done being duped. Okay. Like, why do you think there are so many channels on YouTube alone talking about this topic? You know, um, it's because we're meant to see what's going down in this realm, you know, light shining on the shadows. Okay. So it's a real thing, it's a prevalent thing, and you can use what you've learned to your advantage and do your healing work. There are some seriously smooth covert types who have spent a long time perfecting their presentation. So if you feel angry at yourself, feel the feels, find out what your feelings are trying to bring to your attention, and then just refocus on you and go trailblaze some shit. Right? Okay. So thank you very much for joining me this evening. I'm going to go to bed. And again, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please comment. And I'll be back for more later. Big love.